Part 1, The Misbeat. Hello, dear learner. Welcome back. If this warms your heart, subscribe now. This is Learn English Through Story. Watch until the end to see what happens, because tonight begins with a riddle. Why does a hallway clock skip a single beat at 2:07 a.m., as if time itself loses a step? The hook landed in one line. Every night, 1 second disappears. Only Leon notices. He lies awake in a small rented room. City noises fading like tired waves. The glow of his phone paints the ceiling blue. Deadlines pass like slow clouds. Dreams wait on the other side of silence. A song you want to finish. A college application. A promise to call his mother. He tells himself he will do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is polite. Tomorrow nods and waits at the door. But at 2:07 a.m., the clock in the hallway hiccups and the second hand jumps. In that tiny skip, Leon hears a whisper that sounds like loss. His neighbor, Mrs. Alder, keeps that antique clock polished and proud. She says it belonged to her late husband, a watchmaker with careful hands. Leon respects it from a distance, the way he respects all finished things. Half-done projects fill his room. Notebooks with 3 pages used, a guitar with dust on its strings, a gym membership card that lives in a drawer. He tells himself, not today, soon, when everything feels right. But tonight, the missing second bites harder. He gets up barefoot and opens his door. The hallway smells of lavender polish. The clock stands tall and wooden, its face a moon with numbers. At 2:06 a.m., it ticks like a calm heart. At 2:07, the tick-tock becomes tick-tock, a single pause, a breath held too long. Leon watches, confused, a little afraid, as if the world just forgot to breathe. He remembers a message from his sister. Auditions in 3 months. Send your song. She believes in the melody he wrote last spring. He believes too, but belief without action is a ghost. It floats and promises comfort, but it cannot open a door. He knows this, yet comfort is soft and the night is long. A photo on his phone shows a teenage Leon after a school performance. Sweat on his forehead. Joy exploding in his smile. That boy thought time was endless. That boy clapped for his own future. Leon stares at the screen and feels the weight of all the days he traded for quick dopamine. One more video, one more scroll, one more delay like a soft blanket over fire. He hears the front door open gently. Mrs. Alder steps in with the careful silence of a person who respects sleeping neighbors. She sees him by the clock and smiles, lines around her eyes like parentheses holding kindness. Does it skip for you too? Leon asks. It always has, she says. Just 1 second, like the world remembering its limits. Maybe it's broken, he says. Or maybe it's honest, she answers. People break. Time tells the truth. She adjusts the little brass key tucked beneath the frame. The clock purrs and then settles. My husband used to say, life never stops. Time, once gone, never comes back. He said the way a doctor says a warning and a blessing together. Leon nods. The words land like small stones in a jar. One by one, filling space, making sound. Do you make music? She asks, noticing the calluses that almost formed on his fingers, the kind that start dreams and then fail to finish them. Sometimes, he says. Then use your seconds, she says, and goes to her apartment. Slippers whispering on the floor. Alone again, Leon stands before the wooden moon face and listens. Tick, tock, tick, tock. No skip now, but the missing second still echoes in his chest, a hollow drum reminding him of what is not done. He returns to his room, puts the phone face down, and lifts the guitar. The first chord is rusty. The second is cleaner. By the 5th, his fingers wake up like old friends meeting in a bright cafe. Outside, sirens fade. Inside, a new decision begins. Part 2, the first step. The next morning, Leon woke to a pale light stretching through the blinds. His phone blinked with dozens of unread notifications, but he didn't touch it. The memory of the missing second from the hallway clock was still alive in him. It wasn't just a sound. It was a warning. He sat on the edge of the bed, guitar leaning against the wall. Dust powdered its black surface like neglect carved in time. His fingers ached slightly as if they remembered the few chords he had played in the night. He thought of Mrs. Alder's words, "Use your seconds." Leon showered, shaved, and put on clean clothes. Such ordinary actions, yet they felt like rebellion against the lazy comfort he had wrapped himself in for months. On the desk, he laid out a notebook and wrote just one line, "I will not waste a day." At work, his colleagues noticed something unusual. He arrived on time. Normally, he slipped in late, offering excuses with a tired smile. That day, his boss handed him a report overdue by weeks. Leon wanted to say, "I'll get to it tomorrow," but instead he nodded and began typing. The words came slowly, stiffly, like frozen rivers breaking into flow. Laziness whispered constantly, "Check your messages. Stretch for a minute. Take a coffee break." But he remembered the skipped second, that hollow beat of time lost forever. He kept typing. By noon, he had written 3 pages. Not perfect, not polished, but alive. During lunch, his phone buzzed with a message from his sister. "Auditions are closing in 2 months. Did you finish your song?" He almost replied with the old line, "Working on it," but the lie burned his tongue. He typed instead, "Not yet, but I will." That night, he returned home exhausted, but something inside was steady. The hallway clock ticked faithfully without skipping. Yet Leon still heard the ghost of that missing beat. It reminded him of the truth. Time waits for no one. He picked up his guitar again. His fingers stumbled, but he pressed on. A melody surfaced, fragile yet determined. It was not the triumphant song he imagined, but it was real. One note led to another, then another, until the room filled with sound. For the first time in years, Leon felt stronger than his excuses. Before falling asleep, he whispered into the quiet, "One day at a time. I can win." Part 3, The Relapse. For 3 days, Leon carried the spark of discipline like a fragile flame cupped in his hands. He woke earlier, wrote pieces of his report, strummed his guitar at night. Even Mrs. Alder noticed his lighter steps in the hallway. "Your shoulders look taller," she said with a smile. Leon laughed, though he wasn't sure if she meant it literally or if discipline really could change posture. But flames tremble easily. On the 4th night, after a storm of emails and long meetings, Leon returned home drained. His bones ached for rest. His mind begged for escape. Just a short break, he told himself. He lay on the couch, promising to rise in 10 minutes. 10 minutes melted into an hour. An hour blurred into 3. Midnight passed, and the report sat untouched. The guitar leaned silent in the corner, like an abandoned friend. The next morning was chaos. He overslept, stumbled into the office late, shirt wrinkled, hair uncombed. His boss's eyes spoke louder than any words. Disappointment deep enough to echo. Leon's phone buzzed again. His sister, reminding him the audition deadline was now even closer. He didn't answer. Guilt pressed against his chest like a tightening rope. By afternoon, the whispers returned, cruel and familiar. "See? You can't change. You will always be the same. Why fight at all?" His mind painted visions of the future. Dreams crumbling, music forgotten, himself drowning in a pool of wasted time. His pulse raced. Regret choked his breath. But then, through the storm, another voice rose. It wasn't loud, but steady like an anchor. Relapse is not the end. Falling is not failure. The question is, will you rise again? That evening, he forced himself back to the desk. His hands shook as if weighed by invisible chains, but he opened his laptop. The screen glared at him, judgmental and cold. He whispered into the silence, "Not tomorrow. Now." Line by line, word by word, he worked, not with elegance, not with ease, but with defiance. The hours dragged, yet when he finally leaned back, something inside him had shifted. The relapse had not destroyed him. It had tested him. In the quiet, Leon realized a painful but powerful truth. Discipline is not a straight line. It is a battle, won and lost, and won again. He had fallen, but he had also chosen to rise. And that choice mattered more than perfection. Part 4, The Strategy of Small Wins. Leon understood now that grand promises would not save him. He had tried before, sweeping declarations, sudden resolutions, but they always cracked under pressure. What he needed was rhythm, not drama. That Saturday, he visited his sister. She listened quietly as he confessed his struggles. The skipped deadlines, the relapse, the fear that his dreams might rot before they ever bloomed. She didn't scold. Instead, she poured tea into 2 cups and said, "You're trying to fight mountains in a single leap. No one climbs like that. Take steps, small ones, every day." Her words sank deep like seeds in soil. That night, Leon created a new rule: 5 minutes. No matter how tired, no matter how late, he would give at least 5 minutes to his dream. Not scrolling, not wishing. Doing. The first evening, he sat at his desk. Fatigue clung to him like wet clothes, and the guitar strings felt stiff beneath his fingers. He set a timer. The first chord screeched, the second stumbled, but he pressed on, one shaky note after another. 5 minutes stretched slowly, painfully. When the timer rang, he surprised himself. He didn't stop. His fingers had found rhythm, and momentum carried him forward. 5 minutes became 20. 20 became an hour. By the time he rested, his melody had grown flesh and bones. The next day, he repeated the ritual. Some nights, exhaustion clipped his wings, and he managed only those 5 minutes. Other nights, the music carried him deep into the night, until his eyelids were heavy, but his heart was awake. At work, something subtle changed. His boss noticed he was meeting deadlines again. The lines on Leon's report were sharper, less hesitant. In the hallway, colleagues began nodding at him with quiet respect. At home, the clutter on his desk thinned, replaced by notebooks filled with chords and lyrics. The transformation was not loud or dramatic. It was steady, brick by brick, minute by minute. Leon was teaching himself to obey discipline instead of laziness. One evening, Mrs. Alder met him by the clock again. She tilted her head, studying his face. "You're different," she said. Leon smiled. "I keep showing up, even if it's only for 5 minutes." She nodded, her eyes soft. That's how empires are built. The hallway clock ticked faithfully, no longer skipping. And for the first time, Leon felt as if his own life had begun to tick with it. Part 5, The Temptation of Escape. Weeks passed, and Leon's 5-minute rule began to stitch a new rhythm into his days. His apartment no longer looked like a battlefield of neglect. His reports were finished on time. His sister's eyes glowed with pride when he played fragments of his growing song over a call. Even the air around him seemed lighter, as though discipline had opened the windows of his life. But stability often invites temptation. One Friday evening, his co-workers insisted he join them for drinks. "Come on, Leon," they cheered. "You've been working hard. You deserve it." The bar pulsed with music and chatter. Glasses clinked. Laughter rose like fireworks. At first, Leon sipped water, reminding himself of the morning's promise. Just 5 minutes tonight. Then someone handed him a glass of whiskey. One won't hurt, he thought. One became 2. 2 became 4. By midnight, he stumbled into the streets, neon lights spinning, his guitar forgotten at home. His phone buzzed. A message from his sister. "Did you practice?" He didn't answer. Shame already burned in his chest. The next morning was cruel. His head throbbed. His apartment looked darker, and the calendar glared with an approaching deadline. The rhythm he had fought to build was shattered. Laziness, dressed as comfort, whispered, "See? You're back where you started." For hours, he almost believed it. He lay on the couch, convinced the battle was lost. But then the memory of the missing second on the hallway clock returned, clear and sharp. He heard Mrs. Alder's voice. "Use your seconds." He dragged himself up, brewed bitter coffee, and sat at his desk. His vision blurred, his hands trembled, but he opened the guitar case. The strings greeted him with stubborn resistance. He strummed anyway. The sound was rough, but it was sound. He typed a few lines of his report too, each word like a stone lifted against gravity. It was not elegant. It was not triumphant. But it was done. That night, he sent his sister a message. "I slipped, but I'm fighting again." Her reply came quickly. "That's all I need to hear." Leon leaned back in his chair and whispered into the stillness. Falling is not failure. Failure is refusing to rise. Part 6, The Crossroads. Leon's progress returned, steady as the heartbeat of the hallway clock. The 5-minute rule became muscle memory. Reports no longer frightened him. They flowed. His song was taking shape, its melody strong enough to carry words. His sister listened during a call and said, almost in disbelief, "You sound alive again." Yet, deep inside, Leon sensed the true test had not arrived. Small victories build strength, but storms reveal it. The storm came on a gray Thursday. His boss called him into the office, eyes sharper than usual. A new project was beginning, high profile, demanding, the kind that could shape or shatter a career. "I want you to lead the team," his boss said, "but understand this. If you fail, there will be no second chances." Leon's chest tightened. Leading meant responsibility beyond himself. It meant discipline not only for his own seconds, but for others. Doubt rushed him like cold water. What if I collapse again? What if I ruin everything? That night, he stood at his window. Rain blurred the city lights into trembling stars. His sister's words from months ago returned. Take steps. Small ones. Every day. But was that enough for something this big? A knock interrupted his storm of thought. Mrs. Alder stood at the door with a small plate of bread she had baked. She studied his worried face and said softly, "Discipline doesn't mean you never fall. It means you rise faster than you fall." Her words lit a fire in his chest. The next morning, Leon walked into the office with new resolve. He gathered his team, outlined the project, and broke the massive task into smaller steps. Each member had a clear role. Each evening, they gathered to review progress. Slowly, impossibility began to shrink. Temptation still stalked him. Nights when fatigue whispered, "Skip today. You've done enough." But now he had a shield. He repeated Alder's words like a vow. Rise faster than you fall. The deadline loomed closer, heavy and absolute. Yet for the first time, Leon was not drowning in panic. He was swimming, one stroke at a time, steady, deliberate. He stood at a crossroads. Behind him lay comfort and excuses. Ahead of him lay discipline and dreams. This time, he chose a harder path. Part 7. The victory within. The deadline rose like the sun, inescapable, blazing absolute. Leon and his team gathered in the conference room. Their work spread across glowing screens and thick binders. Executives filled the seats, their expressions sharp and unreadable. Leon's pulse thundered in his ears, yet his voice was steady as he presented. Slide by slide, word by word, he unfolded not only a project but the story of his struggle, though no one else knew it. Each chart carried the weight of mornings when he chose work over excuses, nights when he whispered 5 more minutes instead of surrendering. Each line of his melody hummed silently in his chest, reminding him that he was no longer drifting. When he finished, silence filled the room. Then his boss nodded slowly. Impressive, well-structured, delivered on time. This is the discipline we expect from a leader. Applause followed, polite, measured, but for Leon, it was thunder rolling through his soul. That evening, he returned home. The city glowed outside his window, alive with lights. His apartment, once a cage of clutter, was clean and ordered. The guitar stood in the corner, not dusty but shining, strings still warm from practice. He walked to the bathroom mirror, the same mirror where months ago he had whispered, "When did I lose myself?" The man staring back now was not flawless. His eyes still carried shadows of sleepless nights. His jaw still trembled with fear of relapse. But beneath all that, there was steadiness, wakefulness, strength. Leon whispered, "I am no longer my own enemy. I am my own strength." And with that, he understood the truth at last. Life had not changed for him. He had changed for life. Time still moved forward. Seconds still vanished. But now each one belonged to him. The victory was not in the project, not in applause. It was within. Part 8, The Song of Time. The project's success gave Leon new ground to stand on, but his truest dream was still waiting. The audition his sister had urged him toward was only days away. The melody he had been building, shaky, fragile, yet persistent, was almost complete. Almost. One evening, he sat by the hallway clock, the wooden face glowing softly in the lamplight. Mrs. Alder joined him, carrying her knitting. They listened together as the pendulum swung. Tick, tock, tick, tock. No seconds skipped tonight. Do you know why I keep this clock alive? She asked, eyes fixed on the swinging brass. Because it belonged to your husband? Leon guessed. She shook her head gently. Because it reminds me that every second is a gift and a responsibility. Time is the only wealth no one can earn twice. Her words echoed as Leon returned to his room. He lifted the guitar, and with trembling determination, he finished the song. The last chord hung in the air like sunrise after a long storm. He recorded it, sent it to his sister, and leaned back, breathless. 2 days later, the audition hall was filled with hopefuls. Leon waited backstage, palms damp, heart hammering. Doubt clawed at him. You wasted too much time. You don't deserve this. But then he remembered the missing second, the relapse, the 5-minute rule, the nights when he rose fast and he fell. His whole journey lived inside him, carved into his very hands. When his name was called, he stepped onto the stage. Lights blinded him. Silence pressed heavy. He began to play. At first his voice shook, but then the melody carried him, strong and true. Each note was a confession, each word a promise. I will not waste this life. I will not surrender my seconds to laziness. Time is too precious to betray. When the final chord faded, the hall was silent for a breathless moment. Then applause burst forth, not polite this time, but thunderous, alive. Leon bowed, tears stinging his eyes. Later that night, back in his apartment, he looked again into the mirror. Months ago, he had seen a man drowning in regret. Now he saw a man who had chosen to fight, chosen to rise, chosen to live. The hallway clock ticked on, faithful and steady. For the first time, Leon felt he was not chasing time. He was walking with it, because life never stops. Time, once gone, never comes back. And Leon had finally learned. If laziness controls you, regret will be the only thing left. But if discipline leads you, dreams will not only live, they will sing. Dear learner, thank you for walking through all 8 parts of this story with me. If Leon's fight against laziness and his embrace of time touched your heart, let it be a reminder that you too have the power to rise, one small step at a time. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so others can find strength in these lessons. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what is one small step you will take today to use your time wisely? Until we meet again in the next story, stay strong, stay inspired, and never let your seconds slip away. Goodbye for now, my friend.